Hey guys, this is part 2 of Date with the Distro, and I'm looking one more time at Nobara Linux. Last week I did an install, and as you may have seen on the first video, it did not go so well. So I reinstalled it, and I've been using Nobara Linux for about a week, and I just wanted to come back on with my impressions a week later. So I'm calling this the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is the beauty that is Nobara Linux. It's very minimal, it's very sleek. As you can see, it's got everything we love about the GNOME desktop and Fedora. And it's just refined and very tasteful. So I've been enjoying everything about Nobara Linux. I love the minimalism of it. It's very customizable. So we're going to go to our welcome screen, and you can go to your look and feel, and you can choose a layout. This is very reminiscent of Zorin OS or the Ubuntu Mate layout picker. So if you go back to the first video, I kind of played around with these. So that is one area you can do some customization. Another area you can do some customization is theme your desktop, which opens up the GNOME Tweaks app, and you can play around with that. Change your background, change the GTK theming. So that is pretty cool. Hold on. Okay, so you can go to tweaks. Another place you can go is to your extension manager. So you can do blur my shell. And that just gives you a little effect behind your desktop. I'm not a fan of that, but if you like it, go for it. There's all kind of different extensions in the extension manager. You can download those at GNOME extensions. So you can browse extensions. And a lot of these are pre-installed, unlike Fedora, where you have to install them yourself. So the tweaks comes pre-installed, as well as extension manager, and a lot of the extensions are already out of the box with Nobara. So that's a good thing. Okay, so it's very beautiful. It's very customizable, and it's very complete. It's like a complete experience. Kind of like you buy a Mac computer and it's just one ecosystem. It's kind of what's happening with Nobara Linux. It kind of reminds me of Mint, Zorin, Elementary, Mate, Ubuntu Mate, that family where there's a lot of sane defaults, out of the box. So it's not like a scorched earth approach like, rat poison or something like that. It's mature desktop Linux. Sometimes even Fedora or Debian, these are server distros that they have just thrown a desktop on, but this is a complete desktop experience. So with that completion comes the onboarding tools, like the welcome to Nobara dialog. Also, your media codecs. So if you've got Twitter GIFs, if you've got videos, they will play out of the box. Those codecs were removed from the Fedora 37 upgrade, but they're included with Nobara. Also, the productivity suite is only Office. So I'm used to LibreOffice, but this gets the job done. You can create a document, spreadsheet, all that good stuff. And it also has a cloud companion and a community companion. So if you can go really crazy with the OnlyOffice ecosystem if you want to. You can use it in your organization for collaboration if that suits you. There's a one-click install of OnlyOffice at DigitalOcean. They're not a sponsor, but I have used that before. So if that floats your boat, go to DigitalOcean and start that one-click install, and you're up and running with OnlyOffice. So the productivity suite's pretty good. It's, if you're used to Word, you can get around with OnlyOffice. One thing I like that Nobara Linux was updated regularly. There was, pretty much daily an update that was ready to go. So even though it's Glorious Egg Roll and his motley crew, seems like they're keeping on top of things with this distro, and hopefully it will not be abandoned. Okay, now we go to the bad. I just felt like Nobara can tend to be dark, and I've lightened it up quite a bit even with this. So if you go back to the welcome screen and you go to look and feel and you go to theme, if you go to appearance, the default is this dark. And you can look and say, okay, that's not that bad. But I ran into an issue when I was trying to install a printer. I couldn't really read the text of what I was doing. So if I want to set up a device, I couldn't see that text. And so going back to tweaks and going back to the Idwata GTK3. Okay, see now it's light, and if I go back to that, that didn't change. Don't change, squirrel. That's queer. Let me get out of this. And looks like it's freezing up on me. Oh, see, force quit. Okay, that's another thing that it seems like once a day something gets freezy on me. So it is still buggy. It's still kind of a project distro. It doesn't have like company backing, and it's a rolling release of Fedora. So with that comes some stability implications. So beware of that. And then the ugly was the keyboard. I go to GNOME for the ability to use my on-screen keyboard, and I just have had nothing but problems with that, whether it's invoking the keyboard. So if I go back to OnlyOffice and I tap my screen, it's loading. If I tap my screen, hopefully my keyboard will show up, but it's not showing up. So if I go to accessibility, my keyboard should pop up. And it's not popping up. So that's not good. Other than that, because I was having issues with the on-screen keyboard in GNOME, and in Fedora 37, the same thing, that when the keyboard does choose to invoke, it will replace my text as I type. It will also record my passwords in clear text and show my passwords in clear text, and it's basically a keylogger. So I'm not a fan of the predictive text in 37 that they've added with GNOME 43. So with that, I said, let me install Onboard. Only thing about Onboard is it only works on it doesn't work on Wayland, it works on Xorg. And so when I went to Xorg, I'm not going to do that here because I'm on a Wayland session right now, but the Onboard and the GNOME on-screen keyboard, also known as Caribou, they just were not getting along, and they were fighting for, supremacy. So if you were looking to use this with a touch screen interface and use that pop-up keyboard, Nobara Linux is not gonna be your friend with that. Or maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's easier than I'm making it, but I have not had a good experience with the on-screen keyboard or lack thereof. So just be aware. So that was the ugly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So bottom line, I cannot recommend this distro, but I'm still going to keep it. And the reason I'm going to keep it is because I love it, and it works for me, and I love the look of it, and I'm used to the Fedora workflow, so the Nobara Linux world really works for me. I am a content creator. I'm not a gamer per se, but it works for what I need it to do. And yeah, there are some rough edges, but the good outweighs the bad ultimately. The reason I say I cannot recommend this is I'm looking at this from the standpoint of your everyday user, and there's just a lot of quirks that are going on with it being a project distro and not an official spin. There's still some bugs and kinks that need to be worked out. It just needs to cook a little bit more. I really like the direction they're going, and I just will look forward to it maturing. And again, some of the issues I have are not necessarily with Nobara, but more so with Fedora. With it being a rolling release distro, a lot of times they will pull the rug from under your feet. Like a couple of iterations ago, they switched from Vim to Nano just out of the blue. And then with GNOME, there's just been times where you're at their mercy on what they want to do. They went from a vertical interface to a horizontal interface. When you do an upgrade, it breaks your extensions. So the extension ecosystem is very broken. It has replaced my wallpaper, and I couldn't get my wallpaper back before. So just, you don't know what you're going to get a lot of times when you do the updates. So I have yet to do an update from Nobara to another release because there hasn't been one. Apparently, there should be a beta of Fedora 38 coming out this year, and then we will see what happens with Nobara. But again, I hope they stay on top of updates, and we will cross that bridge when we come to it. But overall, with Nobara Linux, this is one instance of don't do as I do as I say. And stick with a Linux Mint or a Zorin or Ubuntu Mate. If you're just your average, user, you'll have a more complete experience. My litmus test is that if I would give a distro to my mom, then it's a good distro. So my mom uses Linux Mint and she loves it. So if that being what it is, I'm gonna rock with Nobara. Now the thing about the appearance thing and changing the desktop to Iwata GTK3 Lite in tweaks, I don't think my mom could do something like that. So with that, I wouldn't, give her Nobara Linux, So I think it's more for intermediate to advanced users, or if you're a gamer or a content creator, you will feel right at home with this distro. So if you're, well, maybe you are a beginner, and if you have nothing to lose and you're just tinkering, go for it. But if you need a production device, I would stick with. You could even stick with Fedora and be okay. But let's let this cook a little bit more, and I will check with you guys later. All right, peace.